So, good morning, students. So,
Good morning,
everything.
sir.
Morning, sir.
Yes, very good
Good
morning,
morning, sir.
everyone. Yes, very good morning. So, I hope you can hear me, you can see me, and also I hope you can able to see my PPT also, right? So, PPT is visible to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So, let us go directly into the topic. So, in today's lecture, I will discuss extension of yesterday. So, in the yesterday class, we discussed about the structure of or morphology or structure of virus, and today I will discuss structure of virus, and also we will discuss
Good
about
morning, sir.
yes viral detection. Okay, sorry, viral cultivation. So in today's lecture, we will discuss about viral cultivation and viral morphology, a revision of viral morphology, and we will discuss about viral cultivation. So how we can able to grow the virus in the lab. Most probably this week also I will take basics only. Maybe from next week onwards we can go to individual topics. So yeah. So introduction to medical mycology. This is the subject, and the subject code is BMLS 4005. So totally you have 6 course outcomes in this subject. So the first unit is all about introduction to medical virology, introduction to medically important viruses, structure and classification of viruses, multiplication of virus, collection, transport, and storage of samples for viral diagnosis. So far we got a brief introduction to medically important viruses. We came to know what are viruses, what is their properties, and we even discussed about a fundamental structure of virus. Then we discussed about a brief classification of viruses like DNA viruses, RNA viruses, families and their individual viruses. And we also discussed about multiplication of virus. That means almost we covered the entire syllabus. So first unit is almost covered with the basics, whatever classes we took in the last week. Today what I will discuss is I will discuss about viral cultivation, and I will discuss again about viral structure. So let me go to the topic. So far we discussed about definition of life, definition of a virus and size of the virus. Then we discussed about how to detect the virus, then its replication, then we discussed about its other taxonomical or genetic classification of viruses. Then we discussed about the fundamental properties of viruses. Then we discussed about the families and classification. We know that we have DNA viruses, RNA viruses, herpes, and influenza viruses in RNA. Then we discussed about um, viral morphology. Okay, so in the morphology of virus, we have three important things. First, we will discuss about its morphology. Then we have to discuss about its chemical properties, and we need to discuss about its susceptible factors, like how much temperature the virus can withstand, how much pH virus can withstand, what lipid solvents can be used to kill or virus is resistant. So those things we will discuss. Okay, so coming to the morphology, so virus will have a genetic material. Genetic material can be a DNA or RNA, which is at the center of the virus, which is called nucleus of the virus. This genetic material is enclosed by a uh, protein coat called capsid. This capsid, along with nucleus together called as nucleocapsid. On the surface of this capsid, we have protein subunits called capsomers, and the number of these capsomers are unique to various viruses. So this will be differ from virus to virus depending upon their families. So usually capsomers will be around 60 capsomers, and this capsomers also helps in attachment of virus to the cell surface. Then few viruses will have an envelope. Such viruses are called enveloped viruses. This envelope is made up of lipids, and on the surface of this envelope, they will have spikes. A spikes will arise on the surface of envelope, and these spikes are called as peplomers. Okay, so peplomers present to the envelope, whereas capsomers present to the capsid of the virus. Then virus also consists of symmetry. What is the symmetry? Symmetry means this is the shape of the nucleocapsid. So our nucleocapsid will come in three different shapes. One is helical shape, helical symmetry. Other one is icosahedral symmetry, and other one is complex symmetry. And also overall shape of the virus are of three types. They can be either spherical, they can be either rod shaped, or they can also be either in brick shaped. So these are the three shapes of the virus: spherical, rod, or brick. Whereas symmetry, we have helical symmetry, icosahedral symmetry, and the complex symmetry. Then icosahedron. So a typical icosahedron will have 20 facets and 12 corners. And I have shown you how to draw a icosahedron also. Right? First you will draw a hexagon, then you will draw a triangle, Then you will draw another triangle inside this triangle. Then you will connect the corners of this hexagon to make a icosahedron. So the idea of icosahedron is this icosahedron. By the way, one important point here: the naked viruses or non-enveloped viruses are very tough to kill. Those viruses. Those viruses can able to withstand extreme temperatures, extreme conditions, extreme pH, or any other factors. So killing enveloped viruses is far easier than killing non-enveloped viruses. So non-enveloped viruses, that means icosahedron viruses, are really tough candidates to contain them or to kill them. Okay, so yeah, so yeah, non-enveloped viruses, or this particular symmetry is called icosahedral symmetry. Then we have helical symmetry and complex symmetry. Then coming to the size, you already know viruses range from 20 to 300 nanometers. Then structure, symmetry, everything. So symmetry, we have icosahedral, helical, and complex symmetry. Now you need to write the examples of each symmetry, students. Actually, I thought of giving you a small homework, that what viruses are icosahedral, what viruses are helical symmetry, and what viruses are complex symmetry. Say for example, icosahedron is present to Pavo, Picorno, adenoviruses are icosahedral viruses, even herpes and toga viruses. Whereas helical symmetry is present to Orthomyxo, Paramyxo, Bunia, Corona, Retro, and Rhabdoviruses. So Retro, Rhabdo, Paramyxo, Bunia, and Orthomyxo viruses have helical symmetry. That means our coronavirus is a helical symmetry virus. Okay. Complex symmetry is seen in smallpox. So complex symmetry of nucleocapsid is seen in smallpox viruses. Then coming to the shape of the viruses, we have brick-shaped viruses, bullet or rod-shaped viruses, and we have spherical viruses. Okay, so yeah. Then chemical properties of viruses. So there are three important chemicals in the virus. So 1 second. Then class lo unna. Okay. So coming to the chemical properties, we have three important chemicals in the virus. One is nucleic acids, and second one is proteins, and third one is lipids. Nucleic acids present inside the genome of the virus. Capsid is present. Sorry, proteins are present to the capsid of the virus, whereas lipids present to the envelope of the virus. So that's it. It's a straightforward concept. Chemical properties of virus, we have three: nucleic acids, proteins, and lipids. Proteins present in the capsid, lipids present in the envelope, and nucleic acids present in the genome of the virus. It can be either DNA or RNA. Then coming to the viral susceptibility to physical and chemical hazards. That means what how can I tell you? Okay, to what parameters virus is prone to death, and what parameters virus is resistant. What things virus can withstand and what things virus cannot withstand are called as resistance and susceptibility. Susceptibility means killing agents. Resistance means virus can able to resist. It can able to live under certain conditions. So is everyone paying attention? Are you listening, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
far
sir.
everything
sir.
usual. Yes, very good. Fine. So coming to viral susceptibility to physical and chemical agents, usually temperature. So if you boil the viruses, they will die. So viruses can be killed easily at 56 degrees centigrade for within seconds. So within seconds you can able to kill virus at 56 degrees centigrade, or some viruses like hepatitis can able to withstand up to 60 degrees centigrade. So above 60 degrees centigrade, almost all viruses can be killed. If you autoclave any article or any object, you can able to kill viruses by autoclaving, or even by 60 to 70 degrees centigrade, you can able to kill the viruses. That means just boiling the water is sufficient to kill viruses. Viruses are not like bacteria, parasites, or fungi, where very tough to kill. Viruses can be easily killed because they are the simplest, smallest living organisms. All they have is a basic protein. If you heat the protein, it will denature and virus will die. So by heating, we can able to kill the viruses, and by freezing the viruses, by subjecting virus to very low temperatures, virus can able to survive for millions of years, not even 100 or 200 years. They can able to survive for millions of years if you freeze the viruses. So usually at minus 70 degrees centigrade, you can able to preserve the viruses. If you want to preserve the viruses, then you can use minus 70 degrees centigrade to preserve the viruses. Okay, say for example, there are few exceptions like polio virus. If you freeze the polio virus, it will kill. Okay, not all viruses can be able to preserve by negative temperatures, but most of the viruses can be able to preserve by negative temperatures such as minus 70 degrees centigrade. Then pH. Most of the viruses viable in pH range of 5 to 9. That means most of the viruses can able to survive around 5 to 9 pH, but are killed by extreme acidity or alkalinity. If the acidity is greater than 9, or if the alkalinity is greater than 9, or if the acidity is less than 5, then you can able to kill the virus. But in this range 5 to 9, viruses can able to survive. 7 is neutral, above 7 is basic or alkaline in nature, below 7 is acidic in nature. So viruses can able to withstand up to 5 pH and of acidity, and viruses can able to withstand up to 9 pH of alkalinity. That means +2, plus or minus 2, either acidic or alkaline, it can able to withstand plus or minus 2. Okay, so that is pH. That is why there are few viruses called enteroviruses. Enteroviruses means these are the viruses that are able to survive within the intestine. So enteroviruses can able to survive in the intestine with a pH around 5. So with a pH around 5, these enteroviruses can able to survive within the intestine. And one of the best enterovirus is poliovirus. So poliovirus is an enterovirus. That means these viruses will be spread through contaminated food. Via contaminated food, we can get these viruses. And such food contaminated viruses are enteroviruses actually. That means those viruses can able to survive at pH around 5. So polio, best example. One person got polio. He defecated. From that defecated, a fly landed, and it landed on a food material, and someone ate the food. Along with the food, they may get the polio. The same case with few other like rotaviruses. So these viruses can able to survive at 5 pH. Okay, this is all about pH. Then lipid solvents. So for example, if the virus is a um, enveloped virus, it is very easy to kill enveloped viruses with lipid solvents such as alcohols. With the help of alcohol, we can able to kill all enveloped viruses, because enveloped viruses will have lipids, and lipids are organic solvents, lipid solvents. So you can kill enveloped viruses via alcohols, or even solutions like Dettol, Lysol can be used for killing these viruses. Then next one is disinfectants. Viruses can also be killed via help of many disinfectants like beta propiolactone derivatives. So like formaldehyde, Lysol, benzene, Dettol can be used to kill viruses. Then viruses are also can be inactivated by exposing them to radiations. The reason is, whenever you are subjecting virus to the radiation, these ultraviolet rays, IR rays, ultraviolet X rays, gamma rays, microwave rays, all these waves will destroy the genetic material. These rays have the properties of inducing cancers, or these rays have properties of destroying genetic material. Since viruses only has genetic material, exposing the virus to these deadly radiations, it can be either UV, IR, not IR, sorry, microwave or gamma or X-rays, you can able to inactivate a virus. You can able to kill virus by subjecting the virus to a radiation. Okay, so radiations, then that's it. So these are the susceptible and resistant of virus. So viruses are susceptible to physical and chemical agents such as temperature, pH, lipid solvent, disinfectants, and radiations. Okay, why I discuss this? Because we need to know how to prevent the viral infection. We need to know in what measures we can able to kill the virus. Basically, viruses are the simplest living organisms, and it it doesn't take much effort to kill viruses. All we need is somewhat warm temperatures around 60 degrees centigrade, or use of some lipid solvents like alcohols as a hand sanitizer, or use of certain disinfectants such as formaldehyde or Dettol, or just by altering the pH or radiations, you can able to clear all viruses actually. So it's not a big deal to kill viruses. The problem is their rate of replication, their rate of spread in the community is far uh, speeder than other mode of transmission of infections, because just one virus upon entry into the body, it will be replicated into some million to billions of copies in a matter of hours. Within 1 hour you will end up with 1 billion viral particles in your body. And if you start sneezing or coughing via your droplets, sneezing droplets, you are spreading a deadly dose of viruses, viral pathogens into the community. So viruses can able to easily spread. That is why we need to take preventive measures like keeping nose mask, head mask, aprons, goggles to protect ourselves from these aerosol or droplet mediated viruses. The only problem with viruses is their rate of replication and their rate of spread in the community. If you prevent the spread of virus, you can be able to prevent any pandemic, or simply quarantine is the best measure to prevent viral infection. Just isolate the person, infected person in a room. Interestingly, our immune system has a our body has a very good immune system, that our immune system itself can able to kill the virus. It all needs is 1 week time. If you give 1 week time to the patient with proper nourishment, with proper food to the patient, his immune system will kill the virus. We need not to give even medications. All we need to do is we need to manage the patient. We need to ensure the patient is not going to coma. We need to ensure that patient is breathing, and we need to ensure the patient not getting high temperatures. If we if we keep the patient healthy, the patient himself can able to recover from his infection. So quarantine measures are really helpful to contain a global catastrophe such as pandemics has been. Yeah, we mitigated pandemic very nicely with the help of this quarantine and lockdown measures. Stop the contacts, prevent the spread of infection, isolate the persons. You can able to uh, resolve these pandemics. Okay, so this is all about viral susceptibility to factors, physical and chemical factors, and this is all about the morphology of virus. So a quick revision of viral morphology again. So in the morphology of virus, we discussed about the morphology. In the morphology, we discussed about its size, shape, symmetry. Okay, and so in the size, we discussed viruses can be range around 20 to 300 nanometers. Then shape, viruses will come in three shapes. Can anyone say the shapes of viruses? What are the three shapes of viruses?
Helical,
Helical symmetry.
helical, icosa, and complex.
CC.
Rod shape,
There is a difference between
rod
shape and
shape,
shape.
brick
Very
shape,
good point. Hmm.
and
Rod,
spherical
Acha,
shape.
shape,
Rod shape,
spherical shape, and
spherical shape.
very good. Rod, spherical, and complex shape. And what about the types of symmetry?
symmetry is helical,
Symmetry of helical,
complex,
helical
and
symmetry.
icosa helical.
Icosa helical.
Helical, icosa, helical is I can hear only these two. Complex, okay,
The
complex.
icosa, complex, and helical.
And
Icosa,
complex.
fine. Icosa complex and helical. And what is icosahedron? How many facets and corners present to a icosahedron?
Phases are 12 and corners are 10.
Facets are 12.
Phases
20
are
facets and 12 corners.
20.
Yes, 20 facets and 12 corners. And tell me the structure of virus from inside to out. First we have, tell me the structure of virus.
First
nucleus,
we have
capsid,
Nucleus, very good.
orchid,
Capsid,
Nucleus,
capsid,
protein.
lipid,
capsomers, capsomers, lipid membrane, envelope
peplomers.
membrane, and peplomers. Very good, students.
capsid.
Very, yeah. Mm. That's it. I think Anshul, you can mute your this one video. I think accidentally your camera may turn on, Anshul. Then, yeah, chemical properties of virus. We have three important biochemicals: nucleic acids, proteins, and lipids. Tell me the location of lipids. Where lipids present in a virus? Location of lipids in virus.
Envelope membrane.
Envelope. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 1 second, sir. I'm sending. One second, students. 1 second. Need to forward one document. Tara ma'am. Ashwin sir. Sir. Tara ma'am. Um, Ma'am, I forwarded the sheet. Okay, students. Fine. So this is all about morphology and susceptibility. Viruses can able to withstand temperature. Tell me that withstanding temperature of virus. What is the highest temperature the virus can withstand? Up to 60 to 70 degrees centigrade. Okay. And viruses can be preserved at minus 70 degrees centigrade, or minus 60 or 70 degrees centigrade. Okay. Then pH. What is the range of pH that virus can able to survive, students? Viable pH of viruses. What is it? 5 to 9. Very good. 5 to 9. Okay. So this is all about viruses, students. Their morphology and their susceptibility. Then coming to the next one. Okay, viral replication, you already know everything. I need not to say much, but I will just give a brief additional points to this topic, and we can proceed to the viral cultivation. Now, students, we already know that the stages in viral replication. So, virus will be replicated in 6 stages. I'm sorry. So, we have absorption or attachment, penetration, uncoating, biosynthesis, maturation, and release. So, this absorption or attachment. So, attachment. Let us take one example of attachment. Now, let us take a helper T cell. Helper T cells, I will draw a small diagram. 1 second. Let us take helper T cell. So this is a helper T cell. On the surface of helper T cell, we have receptors. That receptor is CD4 receptor. Okay, CD4 receptor is a helper T cell receptor. Now, to this CD4 receptor, we have a HIV virus. So this is HIV virus. HIV virus. Now, this HIV virus will attach to the CD4 receptor via a viral receptor called a peplamer. Okay, peplamer called, it can be either peplamer or capsomer. Okay, this protein is called as glycoprotein GP120. So HIV binds to the helper T cell only with the help of GP120. GP120 is a viral ligand or viral receptor that is necessary for the virus to attach to the CD4 receptor of the cell. So now, if I want to treat the patient with HIV infection, I need to develop a tablet, a drug that will inhibit this receptor function. If I give a WhatsApp, I WhatsApped you the link. WhatsApp. Now, if I give the patient with a tablet that inhibits this GP120, I can able to treat the patient actually. So I can at least eliminate the viral entry or viral attachment to the cell. So that is why understanding the viral replication is very important. By understanding the viral replication, we need to understand what type of receptor the virus using to enter inside the cell, what type of receptor the virus is using to attach to the cell, what type of mechanism virus is using to penetrate into the cell. So by understanding the viral replication precisely of a individual viruses, we can able to develop drugs. We can able to develop drugs to treat the patients. So that's why viral replication is very important. So one example is attachment. So attachment is mediated in case of HIV is via GP120 receptor that will bind to the CD4 receptor of the helper T cell. By developing drugs that will inhibit this GP120 receptor, we can able to inhibit the virus attachment to the surface of the cell. Then penetration. So now penetration, students, very interesting thing. Actually here virus not at all using any of its energy. It's not taking any efforts to penetrate into the cell. But పంపించాను సార్. ఏంటి సార్ అసలు? ఓకే స్టూడెంట్స్, sorry. Virus won't take any effort to enter inside the cell, students. Rather than the cell itself will engulf the virus. Actually, we already discussed this concept previously. Engulf of cell by a pathogen is called phagocytosis. Do you remember, students, what is phagocytosis?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A cell will engulf a pathogen called phagocytosis. Here, engulfment of a virus by a cell, engulfment of viral particle by a cell is called as viropexis. Viropexis. I'm telling the word. You go viropexis. Sorry, not flexis. Viropexis. Viropexis means it's a phagocytosis only. Rather than in phagocytosis we have bacteria. Here bacteria is replaced by virus. So a cell will engulf the viral particle, and this mechanism is called viropexis. Okay, viropexis. It is very similar to phagocytosis. So penetration is mediated by viropexis. Then now, very interestingly, if it is an enveloped virus, when the cell is trying to do phagocytosis or viropexis, the viral envelope will merge with the cell envelope. The viral envelope will merge with the cell membrane, because the viral envelope is just a derivative of cell membrane. So just by merging its outer membrane to the cell membrane, the virus will automatically enter inside the cell. Okay, that is called penetration. Penetration. Then uncoating. So after now see, now the virus entered inside the cell. Now inside the cell we have something called lysosomes. So what is the role of lysosomes? Lysosomes will try to digest whatever pathogen entered into the cell. Okay. Now what the cell will do is, it will think it got a pathogen. So the cell will release lysozymes to digest the outer capsid of the membrane, outer capsid membrane of the virus. Actually, virus not doing anything. It just entered inside the cell automatically, and cell has penetrated the virus, and cell itself removed viral proteins actually. Cell itself, with the help of cellular lysosomes, cell itself removed the viral particles. So the genome will be exposed. Actually, our cell don't know that it's doing a suicide attack. The cell don't know that it's hijacked. Cell don't know that it is hypnotized by a outer alien. So simply, it's doing its regular job. Cell was just as usual. Cell phagocytized the pathogen, and cell was digesting the pathogen, but it don't know it's a deadly trap. Okay, so here virus involvement is nothing. So cellular lysozyme enzymes will uncoat the virus. So uncoating of virus is mediated not by the virus but by the cell. Cellular enzymes uncoated the virus actually. Okay, very smart creatures actually. Okay, then after that, as usual, DNA will be inserted into the nucleus of the cell, or RNA will be inserted into the ribose, into the cytoplasm of the cell, and that will be processed. That information will be processed to make the proteins. Okay, so that is called biosynthesis. So that's it. This is the biosynthesis. So biosynthesis, to be precise, students, biosynthesis we already know. Conversion of DNA to RNA, RNA to protein. So conversion of DNA to RNA is called transcription, whereas conversion of RNA to DNA is called sorry, RNA to protein is called translation. So virus will mediate, it will divert the transcription and translation process of the cell, and it will use that machinery to synthesize the viral proteins. So basically it is hijacking the cellular normal machinery to synthesize viral proteins. Okay, so that is called biosynthesis. Then maturation. So after preparation of the proteins, viral proteins, these viral proteins will assemble together to form a baby virions. Okay, and that is called viral assembly or maturation. In some textbooks they will say viral assembly or they will say viral maturation. Okay, after viral maturation the virus will be released by two methods. Okay, either by lytic or budding. Now in the biosynthesis, students, I have not discussed this point. Kindly pay utmost attention. Now see, so we have a DNA, okay, and we have a DNA virus. Say for example, let us take a HIV, sorry, hepatitis. Let us take hepatitis. Hepatitis. Rather than hepatitis, I'm very interested in taking HIV, students. Remember, is HIV a DNA virus or RNA virus? Tell me. Is HIV DNA or RNA? It's an RNA virus.
RNA.
Very good. Now let us see. Now, first HIV RNA is there. This RNA, with the help of reverse transcriptase enzyme, RNA has been converted to DNA. Will you agree with me? So HIV became a DNA here. It acts like a DNA virus now. Will you agree? HIV converted its RNA to DNA via reverse transcriptase. Now, HIV will be very smart, students. Why I'm telling this? Because, see, usually HIV RNA can be introduced into the cytoplasm and HIV can make its baby viral particles. But if the conditions are not right, then HIV will convert its RNA to DNA and it will embed DNA in the cellular DNA and it will remain shut down. It will embed HIV DNA into cellular normal DNA. And HIV can remain in this stage for almost 20 years. For 20 years. That means now our DNA has a infectious DNA. Our DNA has a infectious HIV DNA and no one knows this fact. Not even immune system knows this one. Not even PCR test can detect this one. No one, not even any blood test can detect HIV if HIV embed its DNA into the nucleus. And this stage of viral replication is called as eclipse phase. ECLIPSE. EC eclipse phase. During this eclipse phase, we can't detect virus inside the cell because the viral DNA is hidden inside the cellular nucleus, so that we can't detect the viral presence. And such patients are called silent carriers. They will be silent carriers and they will be super spreaders. Even they themselves don't know that they have an infection because every lab test will get negative unless it is PCR. But we won't recommend PCR for all patients, right? Because it is expensive, right? So these patients are very deadly. That is why we need to identify the risk groups. Risk groups means the likelihood to get infection to them. Say for example, sex workers. So to sex workers, there is a high chance to spread STDs. There is a high chance of spreading STDs via heterosexual workers. That is why even though their blood shows negative, but still we should do screening tests to them. We must do PCR and screening tests. We must monitor them monthly or half yearly or quarterly or yearly twice or thrice a year. We need to monitor them. These are called risk groups. Okay. The reason is this eclipse phase of virus. Okay. So this is called eclipse phase. Then I would also want to introduce another word. Is eclipse phase clear to everyone, students? Everything, the viral DNA, inside the viral DNA is called eclipse phase of the virus. Is it clear to you? Is eclipse phase clear to you? Clear, students? Eclipse phase? Any doubts so far? Students, are you listening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Eclipse phase clear, right? Now I will tell another word which is called incubation period. What is incubation period? Now I will tell incubation period. Incubation period means it is the time taken for the virus to attach to the cell. Okay, thank you. Incubation period means it is the time taken for the virus to enter inside the cell and to release outside the cell. That time is called as incubation period, and this incubation period will vary from virus to virus. For example, hepatitis. Hepatitis will take almost 6 months. Hepatitis will take almost 6 months to release from a cell. To release from an infected cell, hepatitis will take almost 6 months. And COVID will take around 7 to 10 days. That means until 7 to 10 days, even though you have virus inside your cells, we can't detect anything in the patient, because it will take at least 7 to 10 days for the virus to get entered and to release from a cell. So the time that took by the virus from the time of attachment to the time of release is called as incubation period. The time of attachment of the virus to the release of virus is called as, this duration is called as incubation period. And this incubation period will be different from virus to viruses. For example, one of the shortest incubation period is almost only 2 days, which is smallpox. So if you get pox infection, within 2 days you can see blisters on the surface of skin. That means this virus is very vigorous in replicating inside the cell. This virus can able to cause skin lesions. Yes, sir.
Have you updated all the things what you have?
No, sir. I will update, sir. Actually, I need placement data. I collected today, and events I already updated, sir.
Event, placement data, and higher studies. If someone
Higher studies I will get here only, sir. Actually, we are collecting data from students for this. We quoted them.
अभी आज हो जाएगा?
Yes, sir. Maybe within 1 hour I will submit this data. Already 5.1.3 updated, sir.
Okay. ठीक है, जो बाकी सारा इसको देख लेना, डाउट हो तो फोन पे जस्ट
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Yes. Yes, students. Sorry, actually many works are there here. What we are discussing? Incubation period. Okay. Fine. So viral entry to the viral release is called as incubation period. Okay. So this incubation period will be varies from virus to virus. So for example, smallpox it is around 2 days. Hepatitis 6 months. HIV even 10 to 20 years. So this is called incubation period. HIV is different story. That is eclipse phase. Eclipse phase means here the virus will be completely hidden from the immune system and the blood tests. That is called eclipse phase. Okay. That is why, students, when we suspected the patient has certain HIV symptoms, AIDS symptoms, we got a suspected patient and we conducted HIV test and it got negative. That doesn't mean it's a true negative. Maybe virus may be in eclipse phase. We need to monitor suspected HIV patients for next 2 to 3 years with various methodologies, with various testing approaches. We must monitor or observe the patients who has suspected with a possible HIV infection. Usually patients won't come to hospital. When we are saying you should come again, they won't come, but they don't know what's happening. We know the reason. The reason is HIV may be in eclipse phase. So to detect such eclipsed virus, it will take some time. So we will go with different testing methodologies to detect such patients. Okay. Simply getting negative HIV report doesn't mean patient don't have HIV. Patient may have HIV. Okay. So we need to monitor the patient. Okay. We need to do constant screening to such patients. So this is all about viral replication and structure. So I hope everything's clear so far, right? I think students, viral cultivation I will discuss freshly tomorrow. We can start as a new chapter tomorrow. Okay. Today I don't want to mingle these two things. If you have any doubts in viral structure and replication, you can ask me. If not, we can meet tomorrow. Is it fine for you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So then I will download your attendance. I will continue tomorrow. We have so much time. Don't worry. I will complete your syllabus on time. Okay. Don't worry about syllabus. I will take care of
We are
it.
not.
By the way, get ready for weekend walks. Okay. Kindly maintain written notes and stay updated with the subject. If you are not studying or if you are not engaged with subject daily, then it will be like Greek and Latin to you. You can't understand anything. So at least I'm telling again, virology and mycology is the hardest subject in entire MLT. Virology and mycology will be the hardest to study. I'm trying my level best to break down it. Okay, so try to cooperate with me. If you are only listening, if you are only studying just before the exam, I'm telling you, you can't get anything. You will fail in the exam, and I'm very strict in this case. Okay, I will be very strict in your exams also because I'm taking too much efforts, lots of efforts to deliver lectures. If you have any problem in understanding the concepts, you ask me 100 times or 1,000 times, and I'm ready to teach you at the level of personally or at the level of classes. I can even take special classes for you. I don't have any such problem. I won't hesitate to teach you. But ensure that you will be, you are clear with the concepts. You are clear with the subject. Okay, you can approach me anytime you want. I will explain you how many times you want. I'm completely assuring you. I won't hesitate. Okay. So thank you very much, students. We can meet tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Yes, students.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.